William, hi, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It's really exciting to speak with you because, your movie, Secrets of Dumbledore, is coming out so soon. So you must be really, really excited.
I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm super. It's actually I said it before. It's a fireworks sort of event because we've had premieres in London. There was one in Denmark, another one in Germany, one in China. So everywhere we have those little explosions of excitement, and that's really exhilarating.
I actually want to take it right back to the beginning. I
Mhm.
wanted to build on your audition story because you were telling it. I think I found it on a French interview that
Yeah.
you'd given in French that you were talking about the origin of it. And I was using the translate to try and figure it out. But it sounds like even just coming into this project was such a range of emotions for you. So
It
what
was.
was your audition like?
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's to other actors, this is going to sound like just common, banal, normal, but more and more you sign NDAs, and
Mm.
you can't talk about what you're doing, and that's to preserve the integrity of the story and make sure that there's no leaks for the audience before they actually see the film. But in this one, the audition I was doing was basically a dialogue between Joe and Jack about Jill, and I had no clue who these people were and what was the relationship between them. So by miracle, I was asked to come and do another audition in London. And I think what you're talking about is the fact that I arrived in London and I was extremely nervous because at that point, I don't know why, but I started to feel that this was for something important.
Mm.
And I think I knew I was going to meet with David Yates, and I knew who David Yates was, of course. So I went to the audition place that was above a bakery called Gale's Bakery, and they have very lovely little cakes there and cookies, and I thought, okay, I'm not gonna indulge and splurge on cookies, but I'm just gonna have a tea and wait there. It was 9 a.m. I flew very early, and my audition was at 12, so I had time. The thing is, in that bakery in Notting Hill, you had to choose your table, go to the counter, order, and go back to your table. And that's what I did. So to make sure my table was reserved for me, I left my bag there. And my bag had my passport, my credit cards, my green card, everything was in there. And I walked towards the counter, ordered my tea as I was looking at my bag. But the lady asked me three questions. And on the third question, I had to look at her to be polite and answer, looking at her in the eye. When I looked back, my bag was gone. I
Mm.
don't know why, but I spotted someone outside and I thought, this is my thief. And I ran after him. I asked him my stuff, but he wanted to get into a fight. And I found myself in a fight instead of going to an audition. So basically, the police came and arrested him. They wanted to take him to jail. They asked me if I wanted to, proceed, and I said no. Let the poor fellow go away. If he tried to steal something, maybe he was really, desperate. But I don't want him to go to jail. And he left. But the problem is that I was completely, my hair was, was completely all over the place. I was dirty because we had been fighting on the floor. I had a little bit of bruises and stuff, and my sleeve was a little bit torn. And I thought, okay, I've wasted this audition. I came to
Mm.
London for nothing, but I still had to go. So I went to the bathroom, freshened up, and went up. And everybody upstairs had heard the commotion. So for the whole audition, I was less focused on the audition than I was focused on, my God, I hope they will not realize that it was actually me in the commotion downstairs. So that's the story of my audition. I ended up getting it, and so the I guess the lesson is you need to struggle to get those parts.
Yeah, right. The physical struggle represents, yeah, the that's an incredible story. So, I mean, really what you've talked about a little bit, and I think is so incredible, is that this is magic, that you're part of the wizarding world right now. So I'm so curious about it because, when you're playing a character like this, what do you think, if you had access to magic in real life, what do you think you would be wishing for?
Oh God, so much. So much. Because I really think we need more magic in this world, and we do have access to it. We do have access to it. I think in our modern societies, we tend to downplay the importance of ritual. I think in emancipating from old religions, we missed the point. Spirituality is necessary. The invisible is necessary. Acknowledging that we don't know everything is necessary. More and more, we are in a civilization where we think we know. We have a computer, we have access to information. Anyone on the internet can say anything, and it is taken for granted, when it actually takes way more work to have knowledge, to say, okay, I know this thing. For example, me as an actor, I don't know. Each time I start a part, I have this anxiety because I don't know how to play anymore. I don't know how to act. But then I realize that everybody around me is starting again, reinventing themselves as actors. I have a friend who's a doctor, and what I love about him is he's always researching. He's always questioning his methods, always trying to find new cures for what he's working with, for his patients. And I think that curiosity is necessary, and it's also necessary to be humble and assume that and acknowledge that we don't know everything. And for me, acknowledging that magic actually exists, whether it's a metaphor, it's real, is important. My mom is Indian. In India, magic is something that's real. It's something normal. In Africa, there's nothing that doesn't have magic. When a child is born, there's magic. When the rain falls, there's magic. If your crops grow, it's magic. If someone dies, it's magic. If you recover from an illness or from grief, if anything that happens with the help of magic. And for me, magic is an extension of will.
Such a great answer. So Yusuf, what's so great is that this character is in the wizarding world. This is the first time that we're seeing, to build off your previous answer, African magic on screen in the wizarding world. So, what's that like for you?
I want to say it was about time.
Yeah, I think so.
But there have been other, black wizards before, from the beginning of Harry Potter, although technically Harry Potter happens after Fantastic Beasts. So I tend to say that Yusuf Kama is among the first, since the ones we've seen come after. But for the same reasons, because I grew up, I didn't spend so much time in Africa. After all, I've spent only 9 years, so I'm not going to pretend I am the African expert. But, from all the information I've gathered, magic is really something that's so present and so close to the African continent that when I saw the first Harry Potter, I was surprised. I was surprised and reassured, because I thought, okay, if everybody can identify with that world, it means that every kid, whether it is in China, South Africa, Iceland, America, Italy, they know that this magic is close to them. And they remember that the Celts, that the Vikings, that the ancient civilizations in Europe had those rituals and were very close to magic. So yeah, for me, being able to represent this French wizard from African descent, someone who would have been to wizarding school in France and to a wizarding school in Uganda, at the Wagadu school, that means a lot to me. It's like, I don't know if it's right or wrong, because I didn't create the part. J.K. Rowling created the part. But it's, and also the thing is, David Yates, David Heyman, J.K. Rowling, all these people decided to create that beautiful part. And I was so honored to be chosen to play it. Zoe Kravitz's part, Lita, who plays my half sister. Now we have Jessica Williams playing Lali in such a beautiful way, such a witty, powerful, sassy wizard that we all fall in love with. That's for me, that's the best. I'm very, very happy about it and very excited.
Yeah, you've tied right into the next question, which is that, you know, the last film was very much an examination of grief. You know,
Yeah.
Yusuf has a lot of grief in his backstory. But then this film sort of changes it up a little bit. So, you know, can you preview a little bit what's to come up? You know, after we've done this sort of examination of grief, what are we going to see in this film?
I like that examination of grief. I would say this
Mm.
time around, it's an examination of love.
Mm.
We discover the character of Dumbledore, who's like the most powerful wizard of all times, and we understand why he became that person. We understand more what is this relationship with Grindelwald, who's also extremely powerful. And that is a study of love at all levels. There's, as we say in French, de l'amour à tous les étages, love at every floor. Basically, you have the love between Grindelwald and Dumbledore that allows you to understand the complexity of what love can be and where hate can be born from love. You know, what exactly is the shard in the spine of the character that makes them so angry? What is the reason behind this incredible anger? Is it, I don't know, but could there have been love? Could it have been different? And that is an idea that gives me hope. The love between Newt and the beasts. Why does he love the beasts so much? It is a metaphor for me, in the sense that you don't have to look like the people you love. You don't have to wait for them to be clones of yourself to be interested in them. You can be curious and really discover that there is something to love about them if you just allow it. There's the love, obviously, between Jacob and Queenie. That love is the thing that really moved me the most from the very first movie. I remember that scene where they were reuniting under the umbrella. It was raining. You know, I just wanted, oh, you know, I don't know. It was so this love has been rocked because in Crimes of Grindelwald, Queenie decides to go a different way out of despair. Again, she chooses to go with Grindelwald, but why? She just, it's not a free choice. She does it because she's in pain. So what does pain make you do? You know, and there's obviously the love between Bunty and Newt, and this love is unrequited, and it's a beautiful love. You know, in a way, I remember in French, love making used to be called commerce, trade, and there's a difference between that and real love. The real love is the love, for example, between a mother and their child. They don't even need the child to love them back. They just love because that's what they're made of. So I think this film is about that. Now we discover the character of Dumbledore, understand who he is, how he was built, and how he became that way. That's one thing we definitely get with this one. We have the return to things that we're familiar with and we loved, the things that made us become Fantastic Beasts fan that are actually from the Harry Potter world. So we go back to Hogwarts. We revisit Hogsmeade. We revisit the Quidditch. We revisit the big hall. We go through these places, and it feels really good. It felt really good for us to be there in those sets. And there's also a twist here, which is, I want to say, there's someone said Ocean's 11. There's a heist thing here in a Wizarding World, in the sense that how do two people go to war when they're not allowed to? They have a pact. They have an unbreakable vow that stops them from fighting each other. So how do you circumvent that in order to stop Grindelwald's action, which is to basically destroy the world? Well, it's not just about direct powers are more powerful than you. It has to be something that is more complex, and that's where the heist takes place. Grindelwald is asking Newt to bring together a group of people. They're not mercenaries, but they are, you know, an array of very different people coming together for different reasons with their qualities. And let's see where it takes us. They're not the most obvious warriors. You know, you have a muggle, for example, in the middle of all that, but they will do a good job.
Why? You've talked about how I've seen in almost every interview that Yusuf, the nickname is the legacy, and you really like the nickname being the legacy. Why is that?
Because for many reasons. Many reasons, because Yusuf is someone whose legacy was vengeance. His father is an impressive guy. He's one of the biggest wizards, but he's completely destroyed by grief. His wife was taken away from him and died. So this is what Yusuf inherits from his parents: despair, grief, death. His dad is going to die and leave him with an unbreakable vow, which has to do only with vengeance. So he becomes an avenger by the age of 9 or 12 or something like that. So that's all he knows. He will reunite with his little sister only to see her vanish and being torn away from him in the next half hour by Grindelwald. So this guy has nothing, and he's going to have to build it. And the only thing he can build it on, so far he was building his personality on vengeance, but surely there must be something that his parents left to him, his parents and his ancestors. And that thing is going to be more visible in the sense that he's going to put his powers to the service of something else. He's going to be asked by Dumbledore to join this army, and he's going to fight for a cause that's not only his. He's going to defend the world. He's going to help defend the world from Grindelwald's action. And eventually, obviously, he doesn't forget. He has, and that's another subject there. He doesn't forget, but he finds a new family in Newt. He finds a new family in Theseus, who after all is his brother-in-law. So yeah, that's a lot of elements for me that veer him towards legacy, and I like this idea. So I also like the idea of not forgetting the ancestors. When I was little, my father, each time he had to open a bottle of whiskey or champagne, the first sip was always for the ancestors, and he would just, throw a few drops at the door, and that stayed with me. Always honor the ancestors. Don't forget where you come from.
The angels here, yeah. So I want to jump ahead because I've noticed that you've had the premieres and you have incredible red carpet outfits at the premieres. You had the orange suit, the blue suit. A few years back, you had the black coat. Clothes clearly mean a lot to you. I'm always wondering if it's hints for the movies as well too. But in this film, you're working with a legendary costume designer, Colleen Atwood, and also that I'd heard that in this film that there's a bit of a subtle costume change that sort of informs the action for Yusuf. So I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit.
I have so much admiration for these people, Colleen Atwood and her partner, Mark. Those are people who are really admirable. Those are the people who do their work with passion. I remember there was a scene, I think that was on Crimes of Grindelwald. In Crimes of Grindelwald was different in the sense that we didn't have COVID at the time. So we obviously had more extras, we were more together. And this one was really shot in the middle of the pandemic. So we were highly protected. And by the way, I want to, hats off to the people who allowed this to happen. They really built a process that allowed us to be protected, to protect the staff, the extras, everybody that was working. We had a medical staff that was protecting us. But the thing is, on Crimes of Grindelwald, I remember there was a scene in an amphitheater. And I think I saw something like 700 people there, 700 extras. And then someone told me, but do you know that Colleen actually chose each costume for each person, which means that she actually studied the face and the body of 700 people and decided, okay, this costume goes with this person, that haircut goes. She really puts her heart in her work. And the minute I put my coat, my character starts existing. It's blurry before, but the moment I have this coat on, the character exists. In this case, two things. The moment Jeremy decided that my character was going to have a mustache and came to me and said, are you okay with that? And we're like, I'm not, yeah, well, okay, let's do it. And then I became the new Kama with a mustache, and it changed a lot. The haircut I have, and the moment you add the costume, and they really fit them. They want you to feel, good with it, and they want it to make sense for you. So the transition from the old Kama to this new Kama is that the old Kama had been wearing this coat for ages. I want to say he had this coat on his shoulders for 19 years. He's coming from an old French African aristocracy, and that's vanished. So it's the remains of this golden times. And then, because he meets new people and he goes on a quest, and also his character is going to be, I don't want to spoil anything here, but his character is going to be quite low key here. He doesn't want to be noticed too much. We have Yusuf Kama that's a little less precious in his clothing. There's something more of a worker in what he's wearing, more low key, and that's where he's going, trying to blend in.
I want to jump ahead a little bit again, because you've talked a lot in interviews about Mads Mikkelsen and how charismatic he is. Yeah. How does that inform, in a film like this where, Grindelwald is sort of your villain, and you have a very charismatic actor playing the villain. So what does that mean? What is it like to, I don't know if you get too many scenes together, but what is it like being around him, being in his presence? What's it like working with him?
Mads is a fantastic actor. And he's a really good person. So I have noticed one thing. I was, let's talk about another film for a minute. I was doing Stillwater with Tom McCarthy. And I remember there was a scene we were filming in Marseille, and it was really, really hot. And Tom would give me directions. So we would start the scene and he would go, cut, and then come to me and speak to me. It would give me directions, very precise directions. And while he was doing that, the makeup artist will, do some touch-ups on my face, and the wardrobe person would try and fix a few things, and then we would go again. And one of the assistants was kind enough to fan me a little bit. She had a little fan, or he had a little fan, and was refreshing me because I was really sweating. And this happened like 8 or 9 times. And at the 9th time, I thought I understood what Tom wanted from me. And I thought, okay, I better catch this opportunity. I have 1 second to turn around and say thank you to the assistant who was, freshening me up. And I turned around, and the assistant was Matt Damon. I was playing a scene with Matt Damon, and during those little breaks, he would kindly take a fan and, just refresh his partner's face. And I thought, oh my God. So that's what real goodness and talent is. And I realized that very often the people who are really talented, the people we love and admire, in most cases, they also more often than we think, are beautiful human beings. And that was also a lesson for me, is that never forget to be the best human being that you can be. And this is one thing I also had with Mads. I remember scenes where he actually literally did that. He would stop the scene and come and just take some dust out of my suit before going back and starting the scene again. And that created a bond between us. And when you have this relationship with someone, when you have this level of this quality of relationship, you can go really far. You can play anything because you no longer pretend. You really are confidently in an acting relationship with a person. So that's on the personal level. On the acting level, I think it's even more scary to have a charismatic villain. When the villain is very hateable, it's easy, and we end up in some sort of cartoon. You don't feel in danger. But when you feel that you could be seduced by the villain, he could sway you to his side, then we are closer to real life. When a serial killer is arrested or a criminal, one of the first things you hear is always a neighbor saying, but he looked like such a nice person. And it's always the case. They look like a nice person until you find out they're not.
I'm going to lead that in. Probably our last question, maybe time for one more after, but you've had such incredible work on stage as well too, on screen. I wanted to call back specifically to your movie White Material, because Claire Denis is such an incredible director, and Isabelle Huppert, and you were there, I think you were at Venice for that film. I keep seeing the picture that you were at the Venice premiere of that movie, and I'd seen it. It really stuck with me, and your performance in that. So, you know, who are some of your favorite collaborators? Who are some of the people that you've worked with that you would want to work with again?
Oh, Claire Denis and Isabelle Huppert come really first. I've loved working with them, and I would, you know, they would call me now. I would go tomorrow. You know, just the time to pack my luggage. Peter Brook in theater is someone that I really someone who really matters to me on a professional level and on a personal level, because I've learned so much with him. There's a director, a French director called Olivier P, who meant a lot to me. And so those are names people know, but there are so many other people that the public don't know. People who have been, who taught me a lot. You know, this woman, I think her name was Made in Senegal. I did a film with her, and the public doesn't know her, but she was playing my mother in a film called The Absence. And this woman was such a beautiful actress. She moved me. I didn't have to act anything, because she was my mother on that screen. And I remember there was a moment, you see, I have a ring right here. And I in the middle of a scene, I said to her, I was looking at her ring, and after the scene was over, I said to her, "This is such a beautiful ring." And she looked at me and she said, "This ring has been on my finger for 15 years. And now it goes from my finger to your finger. And it's been on my finger since." So those encounters really matter to me, and they make me want to go forward, because those are inspired people. They inspire me.